initiative to restore and maintain peace, law and order in Rivers State.
President Tinubu decries judicial loopholes, urges stronger bench to combat corruption at EFCC workshop.
We are confident that most of our indigent students will have no need to embrace cybercrime, while the credit scheme also has easy access to money to fund their needs in spite of the harsh economic realities.
Senate probes capital market integrity. Committee pushes for transparency and reforms at key financial institutions.
I'm sure that most people do not know that local governments can issue bonds. Most people don't know. So SEC really have to do a lot of enlightenment programs.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall take a look at CBN's new guidelines for Forex to stabilize the Naira.
Well, and so the Naira has experienced significant fluctuations since the 2020 devaluation, leading to economic instability and inflationary pressures.
Now, that's true, Victor. It's in a bid to address these challenges that the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has introduced new foreign exchange guidelines.
Well, the key provisions of these guidelines are unified exchange rate, forex restriction, priority allocation, increased dollar sale, streamlined documentation, enhanced monitoring, and of course, sanctions.
Recently, the Naira appreciated slightly against major currencies, and the impact is an increased Forex liquidity, improved liquidity in the Forex markets, reduced inflation, improved business confidence, and increased economic activity.
Well, the new CBN Forex guidelines aims to stabilize the Naira, promote economic growth, and encourage foreign investment.
However, the effectiveness of these guidelines depends on various factors, including global economic conditions, domestic economic challenges, and compliance with regulations.
So, on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall focus on the Central Bank of Nigeria's bold move to stabilize the Naira. Welcome to the program. I am Victor Azu.
And I'm Henry John. Let me also welcome you to the program. We shall be having a second topic today, and that's going to be in the second part of the program, the Onga Taste the Million promo. You want to know what that is about, so of course you have to stay tuned. We're reaching you live on the network service of the NTA, and we're right here at our headquarters in Abuja. Chukwudi Okoli will join us in a bit for newspaper review. But for now, let's get all the details of the news. Elizabeth Amori is here to feed us. Elizabeth, good morning to you.
Good morning, Inyeri and Victor, and here's the morning news. President Bola Tinubu has called on Governor Siminalayi Fubara, political leaders and their supporters in Rivers State to exercise restraint and uphold the rule of law. In response to recent tensions following last Saturday's local government council election, the president expressed deep concern over reports of arson and explosions in the state. He urged all political actors to de-escalate the situation and discourage their supporters from engaging in violence or destructive actions. President Tinubu, in a release by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, directs the police to restore and maintain peace, law and order immediately, while instructing law enforcement agencies to bring the situation under control. He emphasized the need to ensure the security of public institutions. President Tinubu said government facilities built with public funds must be safeguarded from vandalism. He expressed that self-help has no place in a democratic system, especially after 25 years of democracy. According to President Tinubu, the judiciary can settle all political disputes, and the outcome of this election should be no exception. Frivolous appeals, alleged intimidation of judges, and judgment delivered on grounds of technicalities are some of the challenges impeding the war against corruption in Nigeria. President Tinubu, represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, stated this while declaring open the 6th EFCC and National Judicial Institute Capacity Building Workshop for judicial officers.
That most of our indigent students will have no need to embrace cybercrime, while the credit scheme offers workers easy access to money to fund their needs in spite of the harsh economic realities.
And the federal government has reaffirmed commitment to fostering a strong partnership with the private sector to drive Nigeria's economic growth and industrialization. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this during a meeting with a team from the Nigerian Economic Summit Group ahead of the group's 30th summit.
The expectation is still for the outcome to be largely economic growth. That's what we all want. We want to see double-digit growth. This government has indicated that that is their agenda. We would like to support and put in place all the necessary tools and policies that will allow government to be able to achieve that.
Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Capital Market has commenced oversight of Nigeria's capital market financial integrity, visiting the Investment and Securities Tribunal and the Securities and Exchange Commission. Are they filled with probing discussions and promises of reforms? The committee's oversight is to ensure that the backbone of Nigeria's capital market remains unyielding, transparent and poised for economic growth.
Significant elements in for companies coming to the market.
Commend you and your team, particularly this issue of municipal bond development. I'm sure that most people do not know that local governments can issue bonds. Most people don't know. So SEC really have to do a lot of enlightenment programs.
To food security, Vice President Kashim Shettima stated the commitment of the Tinubu administration in addressing the core challenge of food security in Nigeria, especially tackling the menace of malnutrition. He stated this when he received on a courtesy visit a delegation from the World Food Programme led by its Executive Director, Cindy McCain, at the presidential villa.
We visited the North yesterday and were able to see firsthand what's needed, but also we talked about a long-term strategy to help Nigeria feed its population and help them help themselves too. So it was a very good discussion. He's very charming and lovely, and he certainly is very supportive of what the World Food Programme does.
And those are the highlights of the news this morning. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Inyeri and Victor after these commercials. To stay with us.
My administration took over leadership of our country 16 months ago at a critical juncture. The economy faced many headwinds and our physical security highly impaired. We found ourselves at a distant crossroad where we must choose between two paths: reform for progress and prosperity, or carry on the business as usual and collapse. We decided to reform our political economy and defense architecture.
At break time, when my champ needs to keep going, he's going to need his favorite snack, made with the crunchy goodness of Niger-grown maize, malt, cocoa, and milk, containing calcium, iron, and fiber.
Break time is crunch time, so give your champs this delicious crunchy delight to keep them winning all day. Milo and a snack of future champions.
Nivea Dry Deodorant with 72-hour reliable odor protection from Dual Effect formula for a dry and fresh skin feeling that gives you confidence every day. Nivea Dry is now available in 25 ml for 72-hour odor and sweat protection.
Diadem family! Hey, we go here after today.
Back then I used to be Rasaki, but now I'm rebranded. Call me Shegun, you can call me no guest.
How did you meet your lovely wife?
It was an amazing journey.
Adewale, mention a characteristic of a deceitful person.
Cheating. You're corny. Pretense.
You're selfish.
Nigeria means a lot to me.
And Nigeria means peaceful cohesion.
My country.
We continue to pray, and then hopefully we will come to understand that unity of purpose, unity of living together.
Our ethnic beliefs and background and culture is our strength.
Ever since the amalgamation period of 1914 to date, about 109 years ago, the people of Nigeria live very peacefully with one another.
I think diversity helps a lot to enhance robust development in Nigeria.
All over the country, you have so many ethnic groups, over 250. That is enough to tell you that this is a blessed country, and God has kept together as one indivisible entity.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we swear in colors, with undying demand, we make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Diversity is unique, we are more than just nation. We are Nigeria, we are Nigeria, strength in unity, we know they carry life. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Join the party on AfroSport TV as Libya's Mediterranean Knights host the Super Eagles at the Matazo Benania Stadium in the AFCON 2025 qualifiers on Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, live on AfroSport TV at 8 p.m. West African time for what promises to be an unforgettable encounter in the AFCON 2025 qualifiers. AfroSport, your freedom of sport.
Right up next for us is newspaper review.
All right, many thanks for remaining with us. We've got Chukwudi Okoliobaja with us now for the papers review. Good morning.
Yes, Chudi is here, and he is happy. Yeah, Ray, good morning.
Good morning,
Hello,
sir.
Victor.
Hello, Chukwudi.
You look like a good man today.
But I'm a good man.
Oh, my goodness.
Tell
Victor.
that to the birds. We'll see you guys.
Victor, That's a straight bullet. All right, let's see what the papers have while Victor tries to get back on his feet. The leadership leads with restore peace in rivers now. Tinubu orders IGP. That's on page 6. Says violence has no place in democracy. Arsonists set 3 local government secretariats ablaze. Police vacate council facilities. Above that, we have Edo Poll. We made donations to Pueblo willingly. That's coming from APC reps. All right, you want to find out what that's about. Page 6 has that above the masthead. This is an interesting one. Victor and Chukwudi, pay attention. Men can have breast cancer too. That's according to experts.
We've always known.
Page 11.
They have proven cases.
Anyways, you pick up a copy of the leadership to see the cases that have been proven. Page 17 here says bandits abduct district head, 8 others in Kebbi. And some quick ones right here on the front page of the leadership. We have lawyers hampering anti-graft war. That's on page 12. NAFDAC workers begin strike over welfare promotion. That's on page 7. Finally, this morning, you can read up parliamentary staff protest over 3 billion naira union fund. That's on page 16 of the leadership. Let's see what the New Telegraph has this morning. New Telegraph leads with the crisis in rivers. You can't win all fights. Let go of rivers. We need peace. Fubara tells Wike. Details on pages 2 and 28. De-escalate tension in the state. Tinubu tells governor and stakeholders. Away from that, FG designates Air Peace Caboton to Brazil as both nations initiate direct flight operations. Interesting. And we have INEC should re-examine police deployments during elections. That's according to Clark. You can read that up on page 3. Be transparent about 30 trillion naira debt clearance. PRP tells Tinubu urges National Assembly to probe debt swap. Okay. That's on page 28. You want to find out what that's about. Edo Guba petition. APC INEC obstructing course of justice. PDP alleges. Releases timetable for 2025 zonal congresses. Details on pages 3 and 6. Beside a picture story this morning, we have Tinubu to judiciary. We can't win anti-graft war with technicalities, frivolous appeals. Abbas urges judges to prosecute all corrupt people. And finally this morning, on the front page of the New Telegraph, Nigeria has recorded 54 new suspected Mpox cases, according to the NSCDC. Victor.
All right. I have here the Daily Sun looking rebranded here. And it leads with this major headline, Wild, Wild Rivers. 5 feared killed. Hoodlums raise 3 LGA officers. PDP governors reaffirm support for Fubara. INEC calls for presidential attention on states politics. Bode George writes Tinubu urges him to call Wike to order. That's the major story and it's on page 6. And above that story, don't give our salary to LGs, unions tell FG. Demand funds be made first line charge on FARC. Interesting. And beside the nameplate, marketers to finalize petrol price. Evacuation modalities with Dangote refinery. Full downstream deregulation begins. That story is on page 25. And on the left strip here, where you have the rest of the story, alleged money laundering. Court shifts EFCC's case against Obiano to November 13. Page 4. Governor Dodo approves 72,500 naira as minimum wage for workers. That story is on page 8. Gives workers 1-year tax relief. And PDP releases timetable for zonal congresses, page 26. 18,541 Lagosians suffering from tuberculosis. Sanwo-Olu's wife raises alarm. And finally, anti-graft war. Recovered funds invested in Nel Fund Credit Corps. Tinubu, page 5. Chukwudi.
Let me quickly look at nature here before we go to the real feud this morning. 40 fishermen kill killer hippopotamus in Kebbi, I would have said, we on this patch of earth quickly rush to kill whales and hippopotamuses that we see on our shores. Across, over there, they will tell you, ferry them back to sea. But they say this one is a killer hippopotamus.
I was going to point that out.
Yeah, so maybe it's justified. Otherwise, the sight of people hacking away on a whale and he's blinking his eyes, it doesn't die till you get to the bowels. It's somehow, you understand? That's where I was going. Okay, killer hippopotamus. That word is always a hippopotamus. I don't know what the stress is.
You know, when we are growing up, it's HIP for the hippopotamus.
Yes.
Okay.
But away now to rivers where the action is. You see, my people have a proverb. If pikin too sabi cry, then not they carry dead body pass am. One of the signs of great wisdom, I tell those who care to listen, is knowing when to appear foolish. Not that you are foolish, but because you want the environment to thrive, because it's greater than you, you pretend you do not know. When people show their sense all the time, calamity knocks on their door. I don't know what to tell Rivers people. President Ahmed Bola Tinubu has already said what should be said. If you're aggrieved, do what? Go to court. How can we not have real violence on the day of the local government polls?
And then afterwards.
Then after.
You begin to raise.
So somebody's aggrieved over how things went and all that. Go to court if you have any problems. Do you know that Rivers State is gradually becoming the sick man of Nigeria? You know, which country was that? Was it Turkey in those days? The Ottoman Empire? The sick man of Europe. You know, my ancient history.
But this is of Nigeria.
My ancient history. I'm beginning to forget it, you know. So we have to be careful over what is happening in Rivers. The FCT minister has not spoken up. But Fubara is saying here, you can't win all your fights. That's what he's telling Wiki. That is his opinion. Give peace a chance. That is his opinion. Till we hear from the other side, we can only call it his opinion. But at the end of the day, is the common denominator of peace we are looking for. That is my own little take on what is happening in Rivers. Democracy is being threatened in Nigeria because Rivers is crying and bleeding at the same time. It's a shame. A very big shame.
It's a shame. And the Sun aptly captions it, Wild, Wild Rivers. Reminds me of the Wild, Wild West.
Wild, Wild Rivers indeed. I like good captions when editors are at their best. We are sounding the alarm now. Wild, Wild Rivers means, Mr. President, lawmakers at the national level, maybe it is time for you to wade into the rivers crisis. You know, I'm not a politician. I don't think I'm ever going to become one. I don't have the texture of it. But having said that, do you know that I suspect that at the end of the day, even if you take a case to court concerning rivers, those wonderful men in wig are going to give a political decision. There's a difference between justice and political decisions sometimes. When a judge looks at a matter, he could tell you, now you win. Victor, now you win. Now go back home and settle your problem. That is where Rivers is headed. If anybody thinks they're going to go to court and somebody says, you have done this, you've done that, go and take, it's not going to work. I'm not a lawyer, but I sense certain things naturally, and they happen.
At this point, I'll caption your last statement, alleged suspicion of Chukwudi Okoli-Ubaja.
It's okay. It's because I started by throwing, tantrums at you. You're having your own back on me. It's natural.
All right, Rivers, wild, wild. Kogi, jubilation. Workers to get 72,500 naira minimum wage.
Look at life. Look at that. Rivers, wild, wild what? Then Kogi what? You know, it was Celestine Oku and his Philosophers International. Ijenu, ndi nakwa nakwa, nandi languli nangulio. Walk of life. Some people are mourning, while some people are jubilating. One man's meat is another man's poison. You know, Sunday Wendy. Life is, I wish people could recline on their seats and think. Nigerians worry most of the time. They don't think. Many Nigerians, please, let's not abuse those who are more intelligent than us and more philosophical. But many of us worry rather than think. And I have been advocating for a long time now that we go to the school curriculum and deliberately introduce thinking as a subject in Nigeria. I know what I'm talking about.
You know, one thing that comes to mind when I saw the 72,500, while it's a good thing, no doubt, it reminds me of the Arsene Wenger era at Arsenal when he wanted Luis Suarez. And then they said, well, the release clause puts Suarez at 40 million pounds. And he said, okay, that you could buy him for anything above 40 million pounds. And he said, okay, 40 million plus one pound. And the guys at Anfield said, what are they smoking at the Emirates?
I'm a ladies man. I feel that women and children are underreported in Nigerian media. I mean it. But I want to quickly, you know, throw something at you guys. Somebody shows me a bag and says it costs £4,000. I am looking at the foundation it could have laid for me, taking the building to the lintel level, then give it fantastic roofing. Somebody says that's the cost of his handbag. Can you just imagine? I still like ladies.
Priorities are different. Just the same way men should begin to check their breast, because this new report says men can have breast cancer too. It actually says no one should face breast cancer alone. So, I mean, the men shouldn't, you know, push women to go for screening alone.
You can see that Victor and I are practically flat in the chest area. It's those men that seem to have oranges fixed on their chest that should go for it.
This report doesn't say that. Chukudi, this report doesn't say that. It says that men in general, you know, should, you know, examine the breast for breast cancer. I think it's important that they check this.
Ours is serious business. At the end of the day, do you know what they're telling us? Go for regular check. It's not just cancer, my sister. You see,
general health check.
After I knocked a boy down and his urethra had a problem, I got to National Hospital and I knew how I had been enjoying life. People should go to check their health from time to time. It's not luxury. It is a necessity. So it's not just a cancer thing, my dear sister. It is advice, well delivered, and I pray should be well taken as well.
All right, looks like that's it on News Super Review this morning. So I think I'm going to use what Chukudi would rather use to buy a bag of rice to make my hair.
Oh my God. This is not fair.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with the conversation. It's Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Don't touch it.
As your president, I assure you that we are committed to finding sustainable solutions to alleviate the suffering of our citizens. Once again, I plead for your patience as the reforms we are implementing show positive signs, and we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
At break time, when my champ needs to keep going, he's going to need his favorite snack, made with the crunchy goodness of Niger-grown maize, malt, cocoa, and milk, containing calcium, iron, and fiber.
Break time is crunch time. So give your champs this delicious crunchy delight to keep them winning all day. Milo and a snacks. Snack of future champions.
A new edition of TV Guide is out.
This time, we got up close and personal with the transformational legislator, the Deputy President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Barrow Jibrin.
It created a difference in terms of representation through interventions that have brought an unprecedented infrastructural development to my area.
This edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from technology, entertainment, economy, media, politics, family, and lots more.
It is indeed a park of excitement as we take you through every aspect of life. Pick up your copy and get abreast with issues and trending features within our space.
TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
I think Amaka should just move out of the house. Yes.
No. Standing out of the house is not the right thing to do.
Oh, there you go again with your sentimental family stuff.
Baby, if our aim is to stop this affair, it is best achieved under our roof.
You do something terrible and you'll be acting innocent.
What are you going on about?
Don't ask me that question again. You couldn't even control yourself in the presence of our visitors.
What are you accusing me of, woman?
My son, I don't know how serious you are with my daughter, but there's something that needs to be done urgently before you move any further.
Anything, just anything, just say it. I'm ready to do anything.
There is a spell that needs to be removed.
A spell?
Family forever. The story of our lives.
The federal government of Nigeria wants vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipment will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
The race to qualify for the biggest football competition in Africa is on. The 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. 48 teams in 12 groups, with only the top 2 teams in each group qualifying for the African Cup of Nations in 2025 in Morocco. Don't miss the action, suspense and unrivaled coverage on AfroSport TV and its affiliates partners across Nigeria, starting from September 2024 to November 2024. AfroSport, your freedom of sport.
Thank you for remaining tuned. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And to begin our conversation, which is on new guidelines for Forex, let's quickly take a look at this background report put together by our correspondent Ibrahim Dan Hamidou.
Imagine a Nigeria where businesses flourish, travelers access foreign exchange effortlessly, and investors flock to our shores. This vision is now within reach as the Central Bank of Nigeria has launched new Forex guidelines. For years, Nigeria's foreign exchange market has faced challenges, impacting everyday lives. However, the CBN's bold move aims to stabilize the economy, boost growth, and create jobs. Here is what the CBN's new Forex guidelines entail. Electronic foreign exchange matching system. Transparency unleashed. Revised market operating guidelines. Efficient transactions guaranteed. Increased Forex interventions. Market stability assured. So, what does this mean for you? Easier access to Forex for travel, education, and healthcare. Increased confidence in the economy, and potential job creation through foreign investment. According to expert analysis, the electronic foreign exchange matching system is expected to minimize manipulation, boost transparency, and attract foreign investors, thereby driving economic growth. But what about the challenges ahead? Our guests will delve into the CBN's strategy, exploring how it will impact the lives of over 233 million Nigerians. Join the conversation. How will these new guidelines shape Nigeria's future?
All right. Many thanks, Ibrahim and Hamidu, for that background report. And joining us here in the studio for the conversation, New Guidelines for Forex. It's our pleasure here to welcome Professor Uche Uwaleke, Director, Institute of Capital Market Studies, Nasarawa State University, Kefi. We thank you very much for coming, Prof.
Thank you so much, Victor. Good morning, Yere. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, and also joining us here in the studio is the brand new Dr. Niyi Akinshiju, Chairman, Independent Media and Policy Initiative. We thank you very much for coming on. Good morning, Nigeria. Congratulations as well on your PhD.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
All right, we also have joining us for the conversation, but via Zoom from Ibadan, Aminu Gwadabe, the President, Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Let me even begin with Aminu, since I can hear you clearly before we begin to have issues here and there. What does the new CBN guidelines mean for you as an operator in that terrain?
Thank you very much. What the guideline meant to me, first as an operator and also as a leader of the subsector, is one, democratization and centralization of the foreign exchange market. Two, is also in line with global standards. Three, I remember in this same platform, our subsector advocates, which we have written also to the central bank for the grant of autonomy for digitization of our retail end sector. Also, it falls in line with the call of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Taxation. I remember part of their advice, recommendation to the government and the central bank is to digitize the foreign exchange market. So it's the right time to do that. And the reason is, has been said in the first place, about accessibility, about transparency, about market deepening, because Nigeria commands a huge foreign exchange market that most of the time is not on the space. And we need to come up with a framework that we ensure this huge market is being seen, is being transparent. If you allow me to go into the features of the market, like had been said, I will say it in my own different way. The features of the FM, that's the electronic foreign exchange matching system, include one, transparency and accountability. It's true that there are a lot of market distortions. There is lack of price discovery. We have so many bits and pieces platforms, starting from, is it Aboki FX, cryptocurrencies, wallets in the system. The CBN is the catalytic actor in the foreign exchange market. They are the heartbeat of the market. So for the CBN to come up with a digitalized system to reform the market is a welcome idea to enhance transparency, because the truth of the matter is most of these platforms have ambushed what the economy is supposed to be receiving in terms of diaspora remittances, in terms of even other foreign direct inflows. So putting this market will now drive those proceeds, since it is market driven. And two is retail real-time prices, online real-time prices. The CBN will be posting the rate, just like what is happening presently. If I want to know what the interbank is doing today, I have to wait until the close of business before I will go to the FMDQ platform to know what are the high, medium, low rates. So with this framework now, 24/7, I can go in to see what are those rates. The issue here is many people, especially bank customers, don't even know what are the other competing rates in the market. So now that the Central Bank of Nigeria will be posting real-time online pricing on that platform, it will guide the public to make decisions, because the system is now democratized. Then thirdly is market-driven. The third feature is market-driven. It's going to be an interplay of various players in line with the willing buyer, willing seller concept that the CBN have introduced. CBN have come up with many policies, craft measures to ensure reforms in the market. But this circular portends the building of the substructure. It's like a building. When you are putting a house, you must have a substructure. So these are the substructures that will support the willing buyer, willing seller concept. Then finally, like we have seen over the years, the Naira has suffered volatility, have suffered loss of confidence to the extent that the dollar became the store of value for many Nigerians. It creates speculation, it creates anxiety and tension, fears in the market, because you are not knowing what are the characteristics, what is the market dynamics. And as a result of that, we find ourselves in a very, very precocious speculation. Most of the demands, the volatility we have seen on the exchange rate of the Naira is not the demand of the dollar. It's because so many proceeds, illicit proceeds, are pursuing the foreign exchange, limited for that matter, that we have. So with this transparent system, with this the digitalized system, I think I see it as going to revolutionize the market, ensure confidence, and also give competition and democratize it.
For your opening comments and how these guidelines would impact you and, of course, Nigerians in general. I'd like to come back here in the studio, but would like you to stay with us on the conversation. We'll definitely get back to you in Ibadan. I'd like to get to Professor Uche Waleke now. Mr. Gwadabe, started talking about, the impact of the guidelines to him. But, I know my colleague Ibrahim tried to tell us what the guidelines are, but I'd like you to make it as simple as possible, for the average Nigerian watching you at this point. What really are these new guidelines? What makes it different from the past, or rather the previous policies of the CBN? And how do you think the CBN can, ensure that this is implemented?
Thank you so much, Irene. And let me start by noting that every marketplace, for an orderly conduct, needs, a code of conduct. A code of conduct that speaks to the activities of market participants. Now, in the capital markets, we've had that for long now. Both the exchange and even the professional bodies, have code of conduct. The professional bodies code of conduct for their members. I was talking about, for example, Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, and then the exchange itself also has, a code. So the whole idea of having a code is to ensure that people play by the rules, is to ensure transparency, is to ensure that the process of price discovery, that is where price is determined by demand and supply forces, that process is not, is not disrupted. So there is need to have that, that kind of code, and that's why I commend the central bank for, coming up with this kind of code. It has often been said, and I think he even alluded to it, that if you look at our exchange rate today, even if you take the official one, what is not in doubt, even the central bank governor at some point admitted that the exchange rate today, in terms of the value of the naira, the naira appears undervalued. Undervalued means that if you look at all the fundamentals, there is reason to believe that the exchange rate, for example, shouldn't be around 1,600, or in the parallel market 1,700. That it should be lower. So that if it is 1,007, for example, it tells you that the naira is undervalued. And of course, what's some of the reasons for that could be as a result of speculative activities, as a result of fake demand for the dollar, and that is what this code would, one of the things the code will try to achieve, to ensure that there is transparency, ensure that the speculative activities in the market, limited, as much as possible. Now, you also look at the code. Talked about the code. The code the central bank has released, centers around basic principles. Of course, is in line with the global Forex code, and is around key principles of playing in that market. Ranging from principles of ethics. There is the issue of ethics. There is the issue of governance. There is the issue of even risk management, which is very critical. And if you look at that code, it clearly brings out the different types of risks that we can find in that market, whether it is credit counterparties risk, whether it is market risk. For example, recognizing that in such a market, prices are likely to move up and down. That giving rise to market risk. Whether it's operational risk, as a result of maybe your operations, of course, failure in your operations, or even compliance risk, legal risk. So all of them have been clearly identified, in that code. There's of course the issue of also confirmation, and settlement, execution, and more, and again, very important, information sharing. So you have all of that in that code. Again, I want to note that that code is, takes off from the global Forex code. All right, Nigeria is not the only country, doing that. As we speak, there are about 52 countries, that have introduced that Forex code. So it's good that Nigeria is doing that now. Now, you asked what's the difference between this and what we've had in the past. Of course, in the past, we have also had, central bank has also in the past been releasing, foreign trade and exchange guidelines, But this one now appears to be a comprehensive standard code for market participants, in the Forex market. And as has been said, it's meant to, promote discipline, market discipline, promote ethical, good ethical conduct, and also ensure that the market, is transparent. In the stock market, for example, I'm sure if you go to any exchange, even the Nigerian exchange, on the wall you will see real-time prices, scrolling. So the price of a stock, you can check the price of a stock real-time anytime you want. So I think that is the kind of thing that wants to happen now in the money market, where the central bank will in the Forex market, where the central bank will also, using the Forex, the matching system, also make that available. As I said earlier on, this is one good practice that we've seen in many countries, particularly in Kenya, because if you look at the Forex matching system and the current code released by the central bank, okay, if you look at it, I was looking at it, and side by side with that of other countries, if you look at that of Kenya and look at that of Nigeria, you wouldn't see much difference, because that tells you Kenya did that as far back as 2023, March 2023. So that tells you that they are all trying to go in line with the, the global, the global practice. I will speak to this a lot more in the course of this conversation.
Right. Thank you very much, Professor Waleke. Let me now get to Dr. Niyi Akinshiju. Now, both Professor Waleke and Aminu in Ibadan have talked about how the system has become democratized and can now, is transparent and can now drive competition by virtue of it being market-driven. But what's in it for the ordinary Nigerian, particularly those businesses that are Forex dependent?
I think the whole purpose of the code is actually to protect and advance the interests of the client side, because the code talks specifically to transaction. It reduces all the market dynamics to one transaction. So every item in that code talks to what happens at the point of demand, the activation of demand and supply. So to a large extent, it is to protect the client, to empower and enhance the capacity of the principal, the broker, or the seller, as the case may be, or rather the person that facilitates the buy or the sell. That's the broker. And this is why I have this problem here, because up to now, we usually don't even know the role, the exact definition of the participants in the markets. And this is one of the issues the code, is defining. How do you identify the facilitator of transaction? So is he a principal in that transaction, or is he an agent in the transaction? The principal means, for instance, banks are usually involved in foreign, in fact, they are the primary foreign transaction entities. And of course, you also have the BDCs, you have the merchant banks and all that. Our thinking is that, anytime we needed Forex, we approach a bank and there's a desk that provides us whatever we are supposed to request for. Now, the code, for the first time, people like us are now saying that, okay, the banks with their Forex desks can actually trade Forex by themselves, can actually facilitate supply and demand between the bank itself without even going to the market, between the bank and the clients, where the bank is playing the principal role. And I'm using the bank as one of those agents now. And then you also have a situation where the client may want to, may rather want to do business with clients on the other side in that ecosystem. So the whole thing is about strengthening the capacity, of the industry, one. Then two, about defining particular roles, especially in consideration of the digitalization and automation of the system. I think it's important now, because it is time like this, if the central bank had not put, and this is my thinking, had not put this system in place, the automation of a system could actually be abused in various ways, And just like Prof said, the thinking generally is that there is always distortion in our system, because there's no tracking system. There's always distortion in the Forex market, Nigerian Forex market, because there's no, the CBN does not even have the capacity to appropriately track, you know. One, you have different spaces doing their transaction, and there is no point where there's an oversight opportunity, you know, for the CBN. So this is going to enhance the capacity of the CBN. It is also going to enhance the capacity of players in the market, because the the code is now requiring qualified persons, you know, trained persons to manage specific activities in the value chain. It will look complicated, but my thinking is the CBN have done the right thing by allowing practitioners to understand what their role will be, especially in communicating to clients, you know, ordinary clients. If you are giving an order, if you are placing an order with a broker, the broker must tell you every details pertaining to that order, you know. So to a large extent, I think this would facilitate transparency as submitted. It will also facilitate liquidity, because foreign investors that had been the major focus of the CBN, and we see some bit of reluctance of these investors coming in. Perhaps one of the reasons is that the Nigerian system is opaque, you know. But now with this open process, there's a tendency for the foreign investor to even look at this code and be persuaded that whatever is bringing will be safe, you know, and it will get value for whatever is exporting into the Nigerian space.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Akinshiju. I'd like to get to Mr. Gwadabe now. I hope he's still with us and the connection is as clear as... All right. Okay. We'll get to him much later. But let's get to Professor Uche Waleke now. Listening to all of this, you know, interesting for you in the finance space. It makes more sense. It is clearer and all of that. But, of course, to the Nigerian watching you at this time, who is not a professor of the capital market like yourself, or not a doctor like Niyi Akinshiju, is thinking, how does this affect inflation? How does this affect interest rates?
Exactly.
How does this lead to economic growth? Tell us.
Thank you so much. Of course, you know they are all linked. These macro variables are linked. Interest rate is linked to inflation, okay, and inflation is also linked to you know, economic growth, okay. So how does it affect let's say inflation, for example? If the central bank succeeds in its bid to firm up the value of the naira, okay, let me repeat, firm up the value of the naira. Now, I am not talking about stabilizing the value. A lot of people talk about stabilizing the value, but I think what is more important now, that's my view, I take the view that what is more important for now, from the point of view of the average Nigerian, is to strengthen the naira, okay? Once we can strengthen the naira, then we can talk about stabilizing the naira. You hear a lot of conversations around stabilizing the naira, and I ask, stabilizing the naira around what exchange rate? So you want to stabilize the naira around 1,600 or 1,650? For me, that's the equilibrium price is too high. And as I've been admitted, naira is undervalued. So if the naira is undervalued, we should try to see how we can, you know, firm it up, how we can strengthen, you know, the naira. You have a country where you have reserves, foreign reserves today is in excess of $38 billion. Okay, the CBN governor, you know, even disclosed that in the, you know, recently, I think at the last MPC meeting, $38 billion sufficient to finance over 14 months of, you know, of goods. Okay, so when you have that kind of arsenal, that kind of reserves, okay, one should expect that it should rub off positively on the value of your naira. In other words, it should help to strengthen it, because the whole essence of reserves, by the way, is even to, you know, to help strengthen, to defend, you know, develop the naira. So I make that point again, that what is more important is to strengthen the naira. In other words, reduce the exchange rate, because that's what will bring down inflation. It's not about stabilizing it around a particular, because some people argue that what is more important is, you know, stabilize it around where it is, Okay, it shouldn't have, but we need to, bring it down. I give you a recent experience I had. I was in Guinea last week, Guinea Conakry, and in the hotel I stayed, okay, a night in that hotel, when they printed my, of course I didn't, I was sponsored, I didn't pay. When they printed my bill, I saw that it was 2 million Guinea franc a night. 2 million Guinea franc a night, okay? This is a place where you spend hundreds of, thousands of dollars.
Is that why you were quick to say that you were sponsored?
Yeah, of course. No. Why I'm even telling you this is I'm trying to relate it to the fact that it's not about stabilizing the value of the currency, because this is 2 million Guinea franc, okay? Now you ask, the question you now ask is, what is the exchange rate of Guinea franc to the dollar? The exchange officially you will see around maybe 9,000 Guinea francs to the dollar, okay? But of course, when you go to the street, you get that 10,000 Guinea francs to the dollar. So 2 million Guinea franc translates to maybe around 200, dollars. Okay, that's a night equivalent of here maybe around 370, thousand naira. So that tells you that, and this is a country where you have, I wouldn't say, use Guinea specifically, but generally where you have this kind of exchange rates, what you find is you find millionaires that are poor millionaires. Remember, poor millionaires, people with millions. You have millions, but you are poor because your millions cannot buy anything, buy much. So it's not about stabilizing, I repeat. It's about ensuring that our naira exchange rate comes down. Again, people cite the case of South Korea. Again, I was in Seoul. I was also in Busan, okay, where you have maybe you have a dollar to exchange it for as much as over 2,000 or something, the Korean won. All right, but in the case of South Korea, it's understandable. When these countries devalue their currencies, okay, they do so because they want to promote exports. They have diversified export base, but that is not the case with Nigeria. So we shouldn't be, the concern of the central bank, in my view, should be how to, reduce the value, reduce the exchange rate. And it's not just the central bank. The central bank should work in harmony with the fiscal authority to do that. And of course, the only sustainable way you can do that is to to diversify your export base, to boost production. And that's why I'm happy that today, on the fiscal side, effort is being made, in that direction. The work of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, is geared towards having a friendly business environment, okay, ensuring that this issue of multiple taxes, for example, don't discourage, production. And that's one way you can also bring down inflation. So if you have reduced exchange rates, it will feed into, you have the pass-through, into inflation. Inflation is likely to come down. Part of why you have this dollarization or penchant to hold dollar is also because of the, the fact that the naira, the exchange rate is high. Okay, look at the country I just mentioned. Okay, why will people just want to pay for, you're carrying 2 million, of the country's currency. So in that type of economy, what is common is that you find economic agents quoting their prices in dollars. People now carry dollar, prefer dollar because the other one is cumbersome. That is what I don't want us to get into in this country when you have exchange rate rising. Because when you look at the forward, sometimes I get scared when I look at the forward markets, the forward Forex market. You look at the forward Forex market, somebody is prepared to pay, say, 2,100 naira to the dollar in the next 3 months or 6 months. Anybody who tells you he's ready to pay, he needs dollars in 3 months' time, and he's telling you, let us agree that in 3 months' time, I will give you 2,100 naira in exchange for the dollar that I need in 3 months' time. That's a forward contract. Anybody that does that, okay, is only believing or has reason to believe that the dollar will do what? Will further, appreciate. The exchange rate will go beyond 2-1. That's why he's saying in 3 months' time I will give you 2,001, because he thinks that in 3 months' time it will even be 2,300. So he wants to lock in the, whatever the exchange rate now. So when you want to look at the direction of the exchange, sometimes you look at the forward market. And why this code is important now is that it will also check those excesses, those speculative attack, on the naira as it were, which is why sometimes I also get worried when I see this recent, sometimes you see the central bank publishing their expectations. These are opinion survey. So, for example, you find them publishing a survey of the opinion of businesses on where exchange rate is likely to be. Most of those surveys will produce, if you like, negative outcomes, because those people will say exchange rate is likely to go up. So when they publish those kinds of data, even though they are factual, all right, in my view, the central bank should try to manage, such, because when you publish them, it also has the effect of, triggering panic, triggering speculative activity. Because if people think that exchange rate will rise, what would you do if you are told that exchange rate will rise? You would want to go and buy now. Is that not so?
Exactly.
So that is also, encouraging, if you like, spurious demand for dollar, not genuine demand for dollar. So to answer your question, they are all linked. We need to bring down the exchange rate. We need to strengthen the value of the naira. Okay, so that if you do that, because we import so much, inflation can also come down. We'll easily see the pass through. On the other hand, you also need to deal with the inflation. Yes, central bank, is trying on its own side, trying to see how the excess liquidity in the system can be mopped up. That's why you find the central bank raising, interest rates. Unfortunately, though, okay, what we say is that the money in the circulation, which the central bank, keeps targeting, over 90% of that is circulating outside the banks. Okay, the data is central bank data shows it. Currency in circulation went from about 3 trillion in February to 4.14 trillion in August, despite the aggressive monetary policy we have we've had. So it's important for the the bank working in conjunction with the fiscal authority to see that exchange rate is brought down before you can talk about stability. Okay. Let's reduce exchange rate. Let's strengthen the value of the naira before we can talk about stabilizing.
All right, Professor Waleke, thank you very much for your thoughts. I can see that Aminu Gwadabe is back with us. So I'm just going to ask, us is a country where we are never short of laws and rules, but implementation is often the challenge that we have as a nation. And so what recommendations will you be making to the CBN to ensure that these new guidelines succeed and yield the required dividends for not only those of you who are players in that sector, but to those also who depend on Forex for their livelihoods, and perhaps those who needed to go to school and other needs for Forex?
Thank you very much. I think first, the adoption of automation is the way to go. And then secondly, there should be inclusiveness. Like somebody have raised the issue of identification of participants. For now, that matching system is to the African market. It's more like, for me, trading online, like from your FX decks with other clients, with other banks. So it's like automating what the FMDQ are doing right now. So it's the best way to go, because we are talking of democratization, we are competition. Because for you to discover prices, you must create competition. You don't leave prices for monopolies to determine. And the market is so dominated by monopolies. So this will go a long way in enhancing competition. The CBN should keep it up. Then secondly, like I said, it's about inclusiveness. There is the need to include the third level of the market, which is the bureau de change. The foreign exchange is the oxygen of the nation. And there is no country in the world that allow its exchange rate to be totally and freely determined by market forces, even in America. 3, the BDC have proven the only language the invisible forces here. We talk of invisible forces. What are these invisible forces? They are behaviors. So if we identify their behaviors, the only way to checkmate behaviors is to use another approach of checkmating volatility and especially speculation. A lot of Nigerians have lost confidence in our local currency. So bringing back that confidence, even the international investors have lost confidence. Don't forget Nigeria is in a gray list. And gray list portend, dismissal if care is not taken. I'm happy both the central bank and the security agencies are making a lot of sensitization, engagement, awareness, so as we can get out of this gray list. So it's important to continue to include people. We are talking about inclusiveness. The goal of inclusiveness is far yet to be achieved. So there is the need to include other participants so that the market will be robust, the market will be democratized. Then thirdly, the documentation requirements. You see, we are talking of digital KYC now. So a lot of challenges lies with documentations. You are telling me I can do my transaction from my desk, yet you want to cite my passport. When we're in the era of BVN, NIN, which all these platforms have already gotten about my features. So we should also look into digital identification, because continuing with manual identification, it will make the system cumbersome and very complex for operators. Then finally, there should be shared services value. Like I said, as an association and self-regulatory organization, we have forwarded many frameworks on how our members can come together and unify, digitalize the retail end of the market. What we are seeing now, P2P is even taking over the retail end of the market. How many people now buy cash dollar to make payments? How many people use their DOM account to make payments? Even for commodities, even for seasonal demand. I heard of seasonal demand, invisible transactions. So the banks are the wholesale, the BRD change are the retail end participants. They are the third leg. Include them in this system so that you can have a wider market, you can have a wider participant, a wider data to ensure that you have achieved your target. Share services should be encouraged among small operators. We have a platform. Right now, we render our returns online real time to the Central Bank of Nigeria, to the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, to this list of wanted persons by the Nigerian government. License Bureau de Change are already integrated into the system. So there is the need for shared services. The central bank should look into how they will include every participant. We're in support of it, and that finally, like they said, it will enhance accessibility, it will enhance availability. Why do we see different markets? Parallel, official, black market, even in petrol prices, is availability. So a robust system like this, we create volumes, we create transactions. There are millions of transactions that happen per day in this country that the central bank have no knowledge of. So automating this and democratizing it, many people don't want to come into that because there is no framework. So now framework has been built. It's for the central bank to put friendly policies that people can come and be participant in the market. Then finally, also, like I said, put policies that participants, we have confidence, will come into the market and ensure market confidence. So these are my recommendations.
Mr. Guadabe, for your thoughts there. Let's get back in the studio now, and Dr. Akin Shuju would respond to this question. I want us to be specific about MSMEs now, you know, because they are the main drivers of our economy. how does this policy impact on them directly? How would it affect, those managing micro, small, and medium enterprises?
There is an impression when we are talking about Forex in Nigeria, it is always on the supply side. And the market is made up of both supply and demand. So the concentration had been, how do we assess? The assumption is that there must be supply in place. And because of that assumption, we are seeing, we are experiencing this this increase in rates. The demand had always outstripped supply, and that is where your question comes from. The major operational percentage of the economy is located in the medium to small scale enterprises. And to a large extent, if that is if our reality is that we have a large percentage of medium to small size business entities, how do we drive capacity, in that segment of the economy to be able again, to enhance supply, of foreign exchange, so that we look at their role, their importance, and their place in the value chain, and see, is it about increasing capacity to produce more to serve the Nigerian jurisdiction, or produce more, serve the Nigerian jurisdiction, and then export? So when you export at that level, it means that you are earning and it is enhancing supply. And that, of course, will supplement whatever we are earning, from our natural resources, which is controlled by the federal government. So to a large extent, for me, this code must serve the purposes of the demand and the supply side, such that, and I see that thread in the code while going through. I see the protection of the person who wants to supply, as a small-time operator, and because you have had issues of defaults, even in repatriating hand foreign exchange into the country. There's a huge default. It's an ecosystem that the CBN will still need to address properly. People take things out of the country. About 2 or 3 years ago, the policy that was put in place was near a bolekaja, resulting to a bolekaja scene, where the owner, the operator, will take the money, will take goods out, wants to divert the hand dollars, the hand foreign exchange, so to speak, and the CBN is trying to fight tooth and nail, to find a way of insisting that this money must be brought back. So I still don't see a strong alignment and enablement in that process, where you take goods and services out of the country and you conveniently, transparently, take it back. Of course, we have the entities that, how do I call it now, that should ensure that when you take a value of goods outside, the same value in monetary terms or in foreign exchange, is also taken back. So that will help supplement whatever we are earning as a federal system. So to your question, the MSNEs naturally would also depend on the foreign exchange market for their exports. For their imports, especially of critical raw materials. But I want to appeal. Can we also, while we are insisting on importing so much, can we also start seeing how we can start processing raw materials, in the country, so that we reduce pressure, on the foreign exchange markets, because we have so much raw materials that are, because raw materials are food, for instance, cassava, for instance, is a raw material. But it's a raw material waiting to be transformed, processed into different kinds of raw materials. And Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world. And yet, we import industry industrial starch, you know, and a number of associated derivations from the same cassava. So can we look at that primary engagement to transform that product into a raw material, by so doing indirectly, you know, reduce pressure on our foreign exchange markets, you know. So, and it should start, of course, with the MSMEs. Good. I have observed. I have observed what the Committee on Fiscal and Monetary Policy, taxation, are doing by exempting companies under, annual returns under 25 million naira, exempting them from withholding tax. And of course, the the Finance Act 2021 had exempted that category of people from paying company income tax and all that. But just like some people are also saying, I want to join my voice with that. The exchange rate had deteriorated, you know. When that figure was stated in Finance Act 2021 at 25 million, the exchange rate was about 400, 450 to a dollar. Now it's about 1,500, 1,600, more or less. So perhaps there's a need to increase that threshold so that it covers more people, you know, and it is a very good idea because it enhances capacity of individual MSMEs, you know, to earn and of course to reinvest and expand, you know. But again, we need as a country to consciously, and the CBN should try to do this, to consciously drive the banking industry, you know, to help production capacity of the MSMEs.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Niyi Akinshiju. Now, I've just been wondering, you know, in this conversation, I've heard big words, use of big words, terminologies, whether from the prof or from the doctor, or even from the operator. And I'm wondering, Professor Waleke, how the CBN should communicate the benefits and implications of these new guidelines to the ordinary Nigerians, not only so that they get a buy-in of Nigerians, but also they can understand from where they stand to say, okay, this is what CBN is trying to do.
Thank you so much, Victor. Before I forget, let me, by way of emphasis, okay, you know, support the last statement he made. The central bank should have a deliberate policy, deliberately, you know, support MSMEs, you know, via
through commercial banks.
Through the banks. Okay. In the past, we used to have credit guidelines. Okay. We also used to have incentives that, you know, banks get for supporting, for lending to the real sector. So I think the central bank should also look into that. One way, you know, by which they can do that, in my view, is to look at the volume of the cash reserve requirements. Today, commercial banks are expected to drop 45%, you know, of their cash with the central bank. Okay, and that has accumulated to, you know, trillions of naira. So the central bank should explore ways of utilizing part of those huge cash reserve requirements, you know, for the benefit of the MSMEs, again through the banks. Okay, one way by which they can do that is to implement what is called differentiated cash reserve requirements. Okay, in that case, if you're a bank and there is evidence you have lent to the real sector, particularly MSMEs, you have an incentive. Okay, part of your CR is returned to you to be able to do that. It happens in other claims, and I think it's something the central bank should look at. Now, to your question,
communication, yes.
Yeah, communication. Well, let's even start with the document itself, and I'm also going to make a few recommendations on how that document, you know, can also be improved, you know, based on, other jurisdictions, practices in other jurisdictions. Now, that document, the one I saw, the one I have, okay, when you finish a document like that, one expects you to, at the end, include what is called glossary of terms. Okay, if you check code of conduct, the FX code of conduct in other countries, okay, whether South Africa, whether Kenya, you would find glossary of terms. So what glossary of terms does is to help explain, some of the terms in the body of the work. Document. Okay, in the body of the work, you find things like market culture. You find, some terms that need, explanation, by way of glossary of terms, and that will also help you when you are implementing, so that there is no ambiguity as to, what was intended. Okay. Okay, when you have glossary of terms, it explains, it sheds light on what you have in the body. So that's one way they can communicate. In that document, they should include, glossary of terms, and also try as much as possible to include frequently asked questions. Frequently asked questions with respect to the documents. Let it be on their websites. Frequently asked questions. What is the FS code of conduct? Why is it necessary? How will the MSMEs benefit from it? Frequently asked questions, short should be added to, that, included in their website. So anybody accessing their website should be able to see frequently asked questions. Okay, so that's number 2. Now, regarding the recommendation I said I will make, as I said, is a good document, and it's also a good initiative by the Central Bank of Nigeria. But I would expect that, again, it's not something we should also approach in a hurry. I wouldn't know whether the central bank before now has been sensitizing the banks, okay? But we shouldn't jump into it in a hurry. What comes to mind now for me is this e-Naira thing. E-Naira, very good, okay? But you can see, from what we know now, is evident that perhaps they didn't put in place enough measures to ensure wide adoption, which is why today, nobody hears about the e-Naira. We are in a hurry to be the first in Africa, to launch e-Naira.
I've only heard somebody speak of it at a store who wanted to pay in e-Naira, and it did go through though.
Yes. Oh, it's still
but
on,
not more than once.
Exactly. So the point I'm making is that whatever we want to do, we should always. I do that. Maybe my training as an academic, I try to look at what could go wrong. Okay. What are the likely unintended consequences, outcomes? So you try to fix it. You see, I was looking at it and I was asking myself, why is it that, for example, if you look at the 52 countries, okay, 4 countries are in America, okay, and in America, North America, for example, US is not involved. US has not done that. It's only Canada. Then you have Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia in Southern America. Okay. Then you look at Asia, Middle East. Okay. You have about 13 countries there. Then many of the countries are in Europe. About 32 countries are in Europe. In Africa. So the question, what aroused my curiosity? I was saying Africa has 54 countries. How come it's just 4 countries in Africa? That's implementing it, namely South Africa, Angola, Mauritius, and recently Kenya. That was last year. So the question is, the central bank should be able to answer these questions, because that could explain what may go wrong. Okay. Also looking at the countries that are doing this, do they have any commonalities in their forex market? To justify the implementation of that. The ones that are not doing it, okay, what could be the reason? If you look at the oil-producing countries, where we share, we have commonalities. Why is that oil-producing countries are not doing that? Okay.
So what do you think are the drawbacks of these guidelines?
No, I'm just thinking aloud. These are the kinds of studies or research the central bank should do, so that they prepare very well before they do that.
From your own research now, what do you think are the likely drawbacks of this policy?
Okay, now, you see, this code of conduct, as I said, is necessary. When you are in a marketplace, there should be guidelines and so on. But we are adopting that of the global forex code, all right? And if you look at many of these countries, that have already done that. They have diversified export base. Okay, some of them are also implementing flexible exchange rates, or many. Okay, but not full flexible exchange rate, just as has been noted. You hardly find a country that will completely float its currency. Of course, in Nigeria, even though it is said we are doing flexible, it's not complete flexible because central bank intervenes from time to time. Okay, so we need to look at some of these things, what could go wrong. Now, to my recommendation, I said there's need to, look at it so that we don't jump into it to allow some time. It says effective date is October 14th. The document I saw, effective date October 14th. And under the reporting mechanism, it says that banks, okay, are expected to submit quarterly reports regarding their compliance with the Forex code within 14 days after the end of the calendar quarter. Within 14 days after the end of the calendar quarter. Now, effective date is October 14, and the code is requiring the banks to submit their first report by 31st of December. Yeah. So you just have November, December. So that's not a quarter. Now, if you look at that of Kenya, effective date was March 23rd, Kenya. And their first report was July 14th. In other words, allowing April, May, June, the quarter to complete before you now submit.
Yeah, so it appears rushed.
Yes. So this is what is in the current code, and I want to believe that they are listening, so that they can look at it and even ensure that it reflects what is provided there. Because if you say within 14 days at the end of the calendar,
all right.
That is what should.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Waleke. Yeah. We are almost running out of time completely. Let me get to Aminu Gwadabe, who's joined us via Zoom from Ibadan. I just want to ask, maybe in 2 minutes, you could tell us what the likely short-term and long-term prospects for the Naira would be under these new guidelines, in your opinion.
Well, in the short run, like most of the speakers have said, timing is very, very important for implementation so that we can put all the, look at the consequences, unintended consequences, to ensure that it's a very good document that will be implemented. As it is now, there's a lot of market precariousness. There's a lot of volatility. However, I think it is going to address, because it's now tending to say that there will be more liquidity into that market. And as liquidity come into the market, definitely the Naira we appreciate. We have just seen it even by way of manual approach. Anytime the CBN play its catalytic role in terms of boosting the market liquidity, definitely we notice appreciable appreciation of the Naira. Also, in terms of boosting supply, because it's all about supply, I can see the central bank working hard to ensure that they bring in more liquidity through bonds, through creating interest rate for people to come in. And then the price of oil with the tension in the Middle East is going up. So all this will add up to ensure that Naira is stable. My own target, whether willing buyer, willing seller, the rate should be about 1,005 for planning and stability of the exchange rate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gwadabe. The professor and the doctor in the studio, screamed when you mentioned that amount. Still too high. All right, I'll let Dr. Niyi Akeshiju. Your final thoughts in 20 seconds. We're out of time, actually, so we can wrap up.
Once a process gets digitalized, at least there will be a semblance of process audits, process transparency, and most importantly, process discipline. So I think what is on ground now would enhance trading and transaction in the foreign exchange market.
All right. Dr. Niyi Akeshiju, Chairman, Independent Media and Policy Initiative, we thank you very much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
Let me also thank Professor Uche Waleke, Director, Institute of Capital Market Studies, Nasarawa State University, KEFI. Many thanks for your time and thoughts.
My pleasure, Victor.
All right, and finally, let me thank Aminu Gwadabe, President, Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us on this segment of the program. All right, we go on a break here, and when we return, we taste the millions with hunger.
The dreams that our founding fathers envisaged are still work in progress. Every day, we put our hands on the plow, determined to do a better job of it. While it is tempting to focus on what has been left undone and where we have stumbled as a nation, we must never lose sight of how far we have come in forging and holding our country together.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
You have to move from the point where you protect and defend your religion to a point where you also recognize the rights of the other person, of the other religion, and protect it. So if I am protecting my own territory and my own people and trying to emphasize their rights and protect their rights, I should also be thinking about how to protect the rights of the others.
Both Islam and Christianity recognize and defer to God, and both recognize the temporariness of the life of this world, and that ultimately we all go back to God for the day of reckoning, when everybody will render an account of his life on this temporary abode.
Join the party on AfroSport TV as Libya's Mediterranean Knights host the Super Eagles at the Matazo Bendinia Stadium in the AFCON 2025 qualifiers on Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, live on AfroSport TV at 8 p.m. West African time for what promises to be an unforgettable encounter in the AFCON 2025 qualifiers. AfroSport, your freedom of sport.
All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. And it's now time for Hunger, Taste the Million promo, which is an exciting campaign that has been making waves in the food industry, offering consumers a chance to win life-changing prizes.
Well, Hunger, a leading brand in the seasoning market, has launched the promo to reward loyal customers and encourage new ones to experience the unforgettable taste of Hunger. But what's behind this massive giveaway? How will it impact the food industry?
Joining us from our Lagos studio now to speak more on the Hunger Taste the Million promo is Oladapo Oshuntoye, a culinary category manager of Promasidor Nigeria. He's a fellow of the Institute of Corporate Administration. He's experienced in brand management, people management, new product development, and product management. Many thanks for joining us, Oladapo Oshuntoye.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you please tell us about the Hunger Test the Million promo? What inspired this initiative? Because it appears I would like to test the million.
Everyone should taste the millions. So, Hunger Taste the Million promo is an initiative put together by Promasidor, especially the Hunger brand, to reward its loyal customers and new customers also. It's a way of giving back to our consumers, especially this period where the economy is biting hard. We have a pool of 250 million naira in cash and prizes to give back to our consumers in this particular period. So it's also a way to give back as we celebrate Hunger's 10-year anniversary since the launch of the Hunger Cube. So that is the reason why we've decided to launch this initiative at this time.
Interesting. You're reading your profile. It says you're a brand management, people management, new product development, and project management expert. Unfortunately, I don't think that you did well, because we're supposed to have a feel of your products here so we can, be relating with what you're telling us. But anyways, tell your consumers, how can they participate in the Hunger Taste the Million promo? And what products? I know Hunger, produces all kinds of spices. Is it the soup, the stew, whatever? What exactly do consumers need to patronize, and how can they get the millions?
Thank you very much. So like I said earlier, it's a way to reward our loyal consumers. So we have a range of products, and this promo in particular, it's applicable to the cube range. So we have the beef cube and the chicken cube. To participate, consumers just needs to go to the market, buy any of the participating pack of Hunger chicken or beef cube. If it's the 90 cube pack, you just need a wrapper. Once you've cooked and enjoyed your meal, just get an empty wrapper of the 90 cube pack, take it to any of the collection centers closer to you to get a scratch card. If it's the 50 cube pack, you need 2 wrappers of either the chicken or the beef pack. Take it to any of the collection center closer to you, get the scratch card, text the code on the scratch card to 1393, and then you enter into the draw. So we have weekly draws where we pick winners of cash prizes ranging from 1 million naira to 500,000 to 100,000 naira to 50,000 naira and to 10,000 naira. And there are also several white goods like blenders, gas cookers, and then recharge cards that we give on a weekly basis to consumers.
Sorry, I just want to find out. I'm sure Victor understands this, because he's talking about the cubes. I'm sure, Victor, do you cook?
I do.
Okay. Anyways, well, I want to find out from you. You said the wrappers. Is it just one? And can a consumer participate multiple times? Because I mean, if you say you buy the 50 cubes pack or the 90 cubes pack, do you need to bring the whole 90 wrappers, to participate? And then, just assuming I'm into a catering business and, I get to use Hunger a lot. So maybe I get to buy like a carton of the cubes. So, I mean, it means I'm just going to be casting away all the prizes. So is there a limitation as to how many times I can participate? And how do you keep tabs on those who are participating?
Thanks for that question. So you can participate as many times as possible. So there are no restrictions. And to answer your second question, so it's the pack that you bring to the collection center, not the cube itself, not the cube wrappers, is the pack. So the pack has 50 cubes or 90 cube. So if you buy the 90 cube pack, just bring the empty pack to the collection center. If it's the 50 cube pack, you need to come with 2. And then you will be given scratch cards at the collection center. So this scratch card has a hidden code that you need to text to 1393, and that is how you enter into the draw.
Right, and you know, many people get skeptical when it comes to participating in promos like this because for many there's no way to ensure that you know, they are going to get what they win. And so, how is this different rather? What mechanisms are in place to ensure transparency and fairness in this particular promo?
Thank you very much for that question. So the weekly draw is monitored by regulatory bodies. So we usually have in attendance members from FCCPC, NLRC, and the Lagos Lottery and Gaming Authority. So each time we do the draws, these people are present to monitor the integrity of the promotion. So consumers have nothing to worry about. This is transparent. It is streamed live on our social media pages. You can join live to watch it every Friday when we do the draws, and it is very, very transparent.
Mr. Oshuntoye, of course, every Nigerian is looking forward to when the economy will become stable and, of course, prices of goods will go really low. You said this is to cushion the effects of the economic realities at the moment. So does it mean it's a forever thing, pending when, you know, the economy stabilizes? Is there a period when this will end? I mean, and then let us know, away from the cubes that you've talked about, is there any goodies for those who patronize all other kinds of products produced, all other Onga products, by the way? Yeah.
Okay, so to answer the first question, so we started this promotion 1st of September, and it will run till the end of November. So consumers can still keep enjoying their great tasting meals cooked with onga and smile to the bank as they win various cash prizes and white goods. So to answer the second question, you could, if you want to cook and get the best of taste and aroma, use any of the range of onga. We have the classic powder, the steel powder, the chicken powder, besides the cubes that we've also mentioned here. So you enjoy your great tasting meal when you cook with onga, and then you could also smile to the bank as you win from this promotion.
The promo websites and then your social media handles, because you alluded to it earlier, that it is streamed live, that the draws are streamed live on your social media handles. So it will be interesting to know what these social media handles are, as well as the promo page on social media, so that Nigerians can stay updated.
The website for the promotion is www.ongamillionspromo.com. I will take that again, www.ongamillionspromo.com. Then our social media angle is Onga Nigeria across all platforms.
Mr. Oshuntoye, I'd just like you to tell you know, our viewers watching you at this time why I mean for those who do not use the Onga cubes at the moment, why they should patronize Onga cubes compared to all other kinds of cubes in the market. And I'd like you to just throw some light about glutamate, which is the main component of the cubes. Some people have said in some quarters that, oh well, may not be healthy and all that, but tell us the constituents of the Onga cubes and why it should be the cube of choice for everyone who is planning to cook or who cooks. All right, looks like we have a little bit of
in the usage instructions. So we have the right levels of the ingredients in the usage instructions. The ingredients in size of your pot and the size of the family you are cooking for. You could put 2 cubes of onga and then you will get that great taste and the aroma in the meal you're cooking. So it brings out, it enhances the flavor of your meal. It doesn't just mask the flavor of your meal. It brings out those flavor of the various ingredients and components you have in your meal. That is one advantage onga gives you. So you're not just eating a food that has artificial flavor. You are eating a meal that is well prepared and that brings out its natural flavor. So that is why you should use onga as compared to other seasoning brands.
I should be making a pot of soup later on today. Can I also use onga for that? Or are there particular kinds of meals that I can use onga for?
So you can use onga for all kinds of meals. So we have several variants ranging from the beef to chicken. We have the ginger, onion, and garlic. We have the stew powder. We have the classic powder for your soups. So there is not one meal you would want to cook in Nigeria today that you will not find a perfect variant for in the onga range.
All right. By the way, Victor, I'm interested in that pot of soup which you're planning to cook.
You're invited.
Well, you know, unfortunately, I wish onga would provide us with the cubes, so we have to go to the market to get it. But let us know as regards price, because you know that's one factor determining you know what consumers go for these days. You know, the cost of products and all of that. But just in comparison, looking at, you've told us what onga brings on the table: great taste, flavor, aroma. You know, and all that you have mentioned. But in terms of price, would you say that it is fair and affordable?
See that our products are affordable. So you have a pack for everyone, so there is no one left out. If you have 100 naira and you want to cook, you will get a pack for 100 naira. If you want to cook for a party, you will get a pack that suits your cooking need. So our products are accessible and also affordable to every Nigerian.
This raffle, you talked about taking the wraps to certain places. I don't know, for people in Abuja, could you just mention, are there places, you know, key places you want to mention across the country where people can take their wraps to if they want to participate in this competition?
We have collection centers spread across the country. I'm sure if you go to any recognized modern trade outlet, you would find our collection center reps there. If you go to any open market, you would find our collection center reps there also. To find out the list of the full collection centers, particularly the ones close to your location, just go to our website, www.ongamillionspromo.com. You will find the list of all the collection centers in the country, and then you can go to the one closest to your location.
Right. Yeah, I think I should be making my way somewhere there after my pot of soup, of course.
You need to buy the cube first.
Yes, I'll buy it, make the pot of
Finish
soup, then
the
make
cubes.
my way to the
There are
place.
about 50 to 90 cubes, so you need to empty it.
I don't have to finish it. You just take the wrap, the pack, and go taste the millions.
Exactly. Many thanks, Mr. Oladapo Oshotoye. I'm very much interested in this competition. Of course, you know, winning some millions and some kitchen items, like you have mentioned, will do a lot of good, you know, at this point in time. Victor is interested, but I just hope I beat him to this. By the way,
we can both be winners, actually.
All right. So many thanks, Mr. Oladapo Oshotoye. You have final words on Nigerians and consumers of onga.
I would like to say that if you want to taste the millions, then cook with onga. Thank you very much.
That's Oladapo Shuntoye, Culinary Category Manager of Promasidon, Nigeria, a fellow of the Institute of Corporate Administration, an experienced expert in brand management, people management, new product development, and product management. Many thanks once again for joining us, and wishing all of you the very best as they take part in this competition and win millions, of course. So that's our part on Good Morning Nigeria this Tuesday. What a way to end today's edition of the program. Talking about money just makes me feel really good. I'm Henry John. Have a great day.
And I'm Victor Azu. Enjoy the rest of your day.